Hi, welcome to Reducto overwhelm. Most people, I think, by now know that yoga is a really effective tool to help manage stress. And we're not really sure why exactly, but some of the theories are, first of all, the physiological effects of the deep breathing exercises and connecting breath to movement. And one of the other reasons is perhaps the psychological aspects of a yoga practice, which encourage being present in the moment and really focusing on what's happening now and not dwelling on the past or the future. And there's this great quote that says, I have so much to do today that I must meditate for twice as long. So for people like you who are trying to do so much and taking care of other people, maybe you're an activist or you have a chronic illness, you have a very busy job, whatever it is, a lot of people don't want to take the time for themselves because they feel like they don't have time to do anything. But actually, if you do take the time to take care of yourself, you're able to accomplish more. And the reason this video is wizarding or witch themed is because I think a character that is a great example of how taking care of yourself can help you accomplish more is Hermione. Hermione is very ambitious, obviously, and often takes on too much. And a great example of this is in The Prisoner of Azkaban in Book 3, when she signs up for all the courses. She can't decide which one, which I very much relate to. And she gets the time turner, but she's just not doing very well with it, so she misses classes. She's always in a rush. Her book bag is always about to bust. She's just doing too many things at once. And then we see her, especially in book 5, but in book 4 as well, take on a lot of different projects. So she takes on SPEW, she's the initiator of Dumbledore's Army, the Defense Against the Dark Arts Club, and she's still always the best in the class and basically memorizes every textbook. So what's the difference between Hermione in book 3 and book 5? Because I don't think those few extra classes really made up for all the extracurriculars she starts to take on as she gets older. And it's my opinion that one of the things that really helps her is focus. When she was doing too many classes at once, she was literally trying to do two things at the same time, and she couldn't focus well on either of them. She had to drop classes or make some changes so she wasn't doing literally two things at once. But once she was focused, she was still able to do as many things, but she had to better manage her time and her energy, and not just her energy to go, 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 but her mental energy. And I love that Hermione always goes to the library. That's kind of her place. And I know Ron and Harry kind of make fun of her, but I think having that place, kind of that inner resources, for Hermione it's an external place, but really I'm sure once she goes into the library, just feels a sense of calm that she's going to be able to accomplish what she wants to accomplish. And I think many people can find that with a yoga or meditation practice as well. And we're going to do a little visualization at the end of this practice to help you find that inner resource that can have that sense of calm. And once I think you do have that calm focus, you'll first be less likely to burn out, less likely to bring on a stress-related illness, and I think you can also accomplish more in your day. So let's get started with the video. Let's begin in resting witch pose. Spreading your knees about as wide as the mat with your feet together, sit back on your heels and then walk your hands forward until your forehead reaches the mat. If your forehead doesn't reach the mat, you can always use that pillow behind you to rest your forehead on. Once you're comfortable, you can begin to start to pay attention to your breathing. So not trying to change it yet, but just noticing what your breath feels like. If you're breathing quickly or slowly or somewhere in between. If you're breathing deep into your diaphragm so you can feel your belly expanding. If you're breathing more into your chest. So just beginning to notice. And then with this awareness, let's choose to create an intention for this practice. And let's choose an intention to stay completely focused and present. So whatever else you have to do today, whatever just happened, whatever's on your mind, letting it all go for these next 15 or so minutes you're here on the mat. Any other thoughts or worries that come up, allowing them to come and then just drift away for in 15 minutes time when you can go back to worrying about them. And now let's see if we can start to deepen our breath before we start to move. So inhaling through the nose ideally, if not through the mouth, all the way through the back of the throat, through the chest, and into the belly, into your diaphragm, so that you feel the belly expand on the inhale and feel it deflate on the exhale. Just taking a few of these nice deep belly breaths before we begin to move. And just enjoying the stillness that we begin and end every practice with. On the next inhale, come up to your hands and knees for a Crookshanks
Inhale, drop your
pose.
hips,
Arch the spine, let the head drop like your Crookshanks ready to pounce. And then as you inhale, let all that breath out. Inhale, curling the spine, and exhale, sticking out the tongue as you exhale. Like a lion's roar. Now continuing on your own breath. And with each exhale, seeing if you can feel like a lion's roar, like Luna's hat at the Gryffindor Quidditch match. It may seem a little bit silly to make that noise, but it's a great way to clear the throat and make way for your strong voice. Now let's move down to a more traditional child's pose, bringing your knees together, sitting back on the heels, and resting the hands along your side. Then inhale, come high up onto your knees, reaching up, and exhale, lowering back down into child's pose. Inhale, lifting the arms up, and exhale, coming back down. Continuing to move through a couple more of these flows on your own breath. Warming up the body. And let's come into a downward facing fang. So curling the toes under, lifting the hips up, pressing back through the hands, and maybe shifting from side to side, stretching out as Fang would perhaps early in the morning when he's just resting around Hagrid's cabin. And then when you're ready, you can walk the feet forward into a forward bend and slowly roll all the way up into wand's pose. So wand's pose, we want to stay nice and strong but still flexible. So finding a place you can balance on your feet, rolling your shoulders back, standing up nice and tall. Taking a couple breaths here to feel the magic begin to course through you. And now with that breath and that magical wand energy, let's begin to move. Coming to the top of your mat, inhale, reaching the arms up, exhale, folding forwards. Inhale, coming halfway up, exhale, coming into feast pose. Inhale, back to wand, and let's move again, coming into feast pose as you fold forwards, halfway up, and then stepping the left foot back on a 45-degree angle to come up into wizard's pose 1. Taking a couple breaths here, lunging through the front leg, reaching up through the fingertips, feeling strong in this posture. And then stepping back with the feet together, folding forwards. Inhale, halfway lift into feast pose, and coming back to standing. Let's move again. Inhale, feast pose. Exhale, folding forwards. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, wizard's pose 1 on the other side. Stretching those arms up, reaching towards the sky. And then stepping those feet back together in a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, feast pose. And exhale, back to standing. And now we're going to move into Forbidden Forest pose. So you can either have your toes on the mat, on the inner shin, or on the inner thigh. Just make sure you're avoiding that knee joint with your leg. And then as you feel steady with the legs, you can reach your arms up, coming into a nice tall tree, one of many in the Forbidden Forest. If you fall out of this pose, that's completely normal. You can just come right back into it. We're all just learning here. And then release your arms down, release the leg, shaking it out a little bit perhaps. And let's move to the other side, so either toes on the mat, on the inner shin or on the inner thigh. And when you're feeling steady, you can reach your arms all the way up. And I love this idea of being one of the trees in the forbidden forest, because we're all working together here to raise our voices, find our courage, and make change in our communities. And when you're ready, releasing down. And we're going to move now into Hallows pose. So bringing the right foot facing forward, the left foot parallel with the mat, bringing your right arm down to your right shin, and the left arm reaches straight up to the sky, making a little triangle that is the outline of our Deathly Hallows symbol. Reaching up with the left hand and down with the right hand, feeling energized in this pose. And then inhale, come up. We're going to take a wide leg forward bend. Inhale, puffing out your chest, and exhale, reaching your hands down to the mat or the ground. Trying to keep the spine nice and long. Perhaps bending the legs if you're very tight in the hamstrings here. On the next inhale, you can come back up, and we're going to do Hallows pose on the opposite side, so turning the left foot out, reaching forward with the left hand, and down, and up now with the right hand. Staying energized through both arms and both legs. This is one of our last active poses, so let's come back to our intention to keep our focus through this pose. Staying strong through the body and focused in the mind. Then inhale, let's come up. Shuffle the feet together a little bit, so a little wider than hip width. We're going to squat all the way down. We're going to move now into our more restorative session to really release stress and Reducto overwhelm. So we're going to move now into flobberworm pose. So bringing the soles of the feet together, maybe about a foot away from your hips. And now you can bring your pillow or stack of pillows over to you and kind of place them on your feet or your ankles so that as you lean forward, you can completely rest your head. And if you do need to pause the video to get a few more cushions or anything so that you can rest comfortably, you shouldn't feel a stretch but not a strain. So you can do that now. Now these last few poses will hold for a longer time, and they're meant to be as effortless as possible. And these poses are perhaps where Hermione could also use a little help in taking the time to find a deep rest so that when we go back into the world, we're more energized. When you're ready, you can slowly come back up, keeping the pillows with you and putting it towards the front of your mat. We're going to come into a restorative resting witch. So just as we started, the heels together, the knees apart, sitting back on your heels and walking your hands forwards, but this time you're going to rest one ear on the pillow. And again, if you need to stack or unstack the pillows so it's comfortable for you, you can take a moment if you need to pause here and to do that. Now's a good time to check in with your breathing. Are you still breathing deep into the belly here, or have your breaths become perhaps shallower or quicker? Noticing where your breathing is at, and then making that intention and focus to draw the breath in deep down into the belly. And now let's just switch sides, so take a moment to just switch the ear and come back into a comfortable position. If you find these poses a little bit more of a challenge than the more physically challenging ones, first of all, just know that you're not alone. Many people find it harder to hold these gentler poses for a longer period of time because being in stillness can be very hard, especially for Hermione types or even Harry types that are very drawn to doing action. So knowing that you're not alone, and then taking this time to notice how it feels to be still and how it feels to just, for a few minutes, do nothing but rest. Now let's slowly come out of this pose, placing the cushion by the side, but we are going to use it again. As you come to lie down on your back, we're going to come into a nice twist here, so you can place the pillow between your legs as you let your knees fall to the right. And you can make a T shape with your arms, and if it feels comfortable on your neck, looking over to the left. If it's a strain on your neck, you can just look straight up. Enjoying this nice twist in the spine and opening of the front of the body. Now let's shift over to the other side, doing what you need to take the twist to the opposite side. Now let's come into our final posture, dorm room pose. If you like, you can put the cushion under your knees, perhaps pause this to put on a sweater or a blanket. Closing your eyes here, and just imagining now that you're in your favorite, most comforting, safe place at Hogwarts. So maybe it's your dorm room, perhaps it's your house common room, perhaps it's the library, or perhaps it's outside on the grounds under the sun sitting by the lake. Just taking a moment to think about that place at Hogwarts where you would always love to visit and would just make you feel completely safe and comforted. And noticing now what it feels like to be in that space. What sounds do you hear around you? Who are you with, if anyone?